You believe you're a rational actor in a logical market. You're not. You're a biological machine running on a survival script that hasn't been updated in 200,000 years. While you're staring at a chart, the system is staring at your pulse. It knows exactly when you're going to break. My name is Damon, and what I'm about to tell you isn't motivation. It isn't strategy. It's a post-mortem on a crime that hasn't happened to you yet. Pay attention. Let's start with the hardware. Your brain weighs approximately 3 pounds. It consumes 20% of your body's total energy. It processes 11 million bits of information per second. It is, by any metric, the most sophisticated biological instrument ever produced by evolution. And it is catastrophically, dangerously, expensively wrong about money. Not occasionally. Systematically. Predictably. On a schedule you could almost set your watch to if you understood the mechanism well enough. Here's the discrepancy that nobody in finance wants to say out loud. The brain was not optimized for wealth. It was optimized for survival. And those two objectives are not just different. In the modern financial world, they are frequently in direct opposition. 200,000 years ago, your ancestors lived in small tribes on open grassland. The threats were physical, immediate, visible. A predator in the brush, a rival tribe at the waterline, a shortage of calories before winter. The brain that survived those conditions was a specific kind of brain, hypervigilant, loss-focused, socially calibrated to the behavior of the group, deeply, almost pathologically averse to being wrong in public. That brain kept your lineage alive across 200 millennia of genuine danger. It will hand your portfolio to someone smarter in a single afternoon, because the market is not the savannah. The market is a hall of mirrors. Every surface reflects something back at you, but none of the reflections are accurate. Price is not value. Volume is not conviction. A rising chart is not evidence of a sound thesis. And the loudest voices in the room are almost never the most informed ones. In a hall of mirrors, your instincts become your executioner. Every reflex that would have saved you on open ground gets you killed in here. The urge to follow movement, the terror of being left behind, the desperate biological need to resolve uncertainty by doing something, anything, rather than sitting still in the dark. The market was built, consciously or not, around these instincts. It is a machine engineered to exploit the precise vulnerabilities of human cognition at industrial scale, and it is extraordinarily good at its job. By the way, the market doesn't have emotions. You do. That asymmetry is the entire game. Charlie Munger spent the better part of 6 decades studying this architecture. Not the market's architecture, the mind's architecture. He catalogued the cognitive errors with the precision of a forensic accountant, naming them, sequencing them, tracing their downstream effects on judgment and capital. And he identified something that most behavioral economists still underestimate in their models. Biases don't add, they multiply. One cognitive error operating alone is a liability. 2 operating simultaneously is a compounding crisis. 3 or more, triggered together under conditions of financial stress and social pressure and time constraint, that's not a mistake anymore. That's a detonation. By the way, that gut feeling you have during a market crash, it's not intuition. It's your ancient survival software trying to find a pattern in a hurricane. And it's usually wrong. Every single time. Munger called it the Lollapalooza effect, named after the festival where multiple headline acts perform simultaneously, creating a volume and a chaos that no single performer could generate alone. When multiple psychological forces converge on a single decision point, the result isn't the sum of their individual influences, it's something categorically worse. Let me show you exactly how it assembles. The first component, social proof. Your brain, hardwired from the savannah, uses the behavior of the group as a proxy for correct action. When you don't know what to do, watch what others do and replicate it. On the grassland, this was elegant survival logic. If the entire tribe runs, you run. You don't pause to investigate. Pausing gets you eaten. In the market, this wiring becomes lethal, and it becomes lethal at precisely the worst moment. Watch the pattern. An asset begins to rise. Slowly at first, then faster. Social proof activates. People observe movement, interpret it as signal, and buy. Their buying creates more movement, which activates more social proof, which creates more buying. The narrative builds. Media coverage amplifies it. Testimonials proliferate. The asset is no longer priced on fundamentals. It's priced on the collective emotional state of everyone watching everyone else. And at the peak, at the exact moment of maximum social proof, maximum coverage, maximum consensus, the asset is at maximum risk. The herd is always loudest at the top, because the herd is a lagging indicator. It doesn't lead price discovery, it follows it. By the time retail money floods in, institutional money is already building its exit. You are not joining a movement at the peak. You are being used as liquidity. You thought you were a guest at the table. You were the main course, and the table was set weeks before you arrived. It's not an investment opportunity. It's a cleanup crew for the elite's exit strategy. The second component, loss aversion. Kahneman and Tversky established this with mathematical precision. Losses are psychologically approximately twice as painful as equivalent gains are pleasurable. This is not a philosophical position. It is a measurable, reproducible, neurological reality. Losing $1,000 activates roughly double the psychological distress as gaining $1,000 activates satisfaction. The calculus of your nervous system is not neutral. It is calibrated heavily toward the avoidance of loss, and in a volatile market, this calibration creates a specific, devastating behavioral pattern. You hold the losing position because selling crystallizes the loss, makes it real, irreversible. While the position is still open, the brain maintains a fiction that the loss is temporary, theoretical, recoverable. It constructs elaborate justifications, long-term thesis, averaging down. The fundamentals haven't changed. These justifications are not analysis. They are anesthesia. Meanwhile, you sell the winner too early, because a gain already feels good, and the fear of watching it evaporate, loss aversion, again, always loss aversion, overrides the mathematical case for compounding. You lock in 30% because the thought of it returning to zero is neurologically unbearable. Cut winners, hold losers, repeat until the account reflects the psychology. That's not a bad strategy. That's the absence of one, filled in by biology. The third component, commitment bias. This is the most insidious of the three, because it doesn't feel like a cognitive error. It feels like integrity. You buy an asset. You tell someone about it. Maybe a friend. Maybe a group chat. Maybe you post a thesis publicly. And now something subtle but catastrophic has occurred. Your financial position has become entangled with your identity. You are no longer evaluating an investment. You are defending a stated position. Your brain hates being wrong. More than that, it hates being wrong in public. It treats a bad trade like a physical wound. Same neural pathways, same survival instinct. So you don't update your thesis. You double down. You don't filter information. You manufacture excuses. You aren't analyzing the asset anymore. You're protecting your ego's balance sheet. So you don't update. You double down. New information that contradicts your thesis gets filtered, discounted, reframed. Confirmation bias amplifies every favorable signal. Contrary evidence gets rationalized away. You aren't analyzing the asset anymore. You're protecting your ego's balance sheet. And the asset, it doesn't care about your reputation. It continues its cold, indifferent trajectory toward wherever the fundamentals actually point. Now, feel how they stack. You buy an asset late. Social proof told you it was safe. The herd was running. Everything felt validated. The asset drops. Loss aversion fires. Do not sell. Do not make it real. Hold. But you've also told people about it. Commitment bias fires. You're locked in publicly. You defend the position. You add to it. Social proof is now inverting. The herd is turning. The narrative is collapsing. Panic is spreading. Loss aversion is screaming hold, while social proof is screaming run. Commitment bias is producing increasingly desperate rationalizations as the position deteriorates. 3 systems. Maximum intensity. Simultaneous. Contradictory. That's the Lollapalooza. That's the Hall of Mirrors at its most disorienting. Every surface showing you a different distorted reflection. Every instinct firing in a different direction. The rational mind completely overwhelmed by the volume of competing biological signals. And in that moment of total cognitive overload, most people don't make a calculated decision. They just break. They sell at the bottom, exactly when the disciplined money is buying. They crystallize the maximum loss at the maximum moment of panic. And they walk away from the wreckage convinced that the market is irrational, that they were unlucky, that something external happened to them. It wasn't external. It was the architecture of their own cognition, running exactly as designed. So how do you build a mind that doesn't break? You don't eliminate the bugs. You cannot uninstall 200,000 years of survival programming through sheer willpower. Anyone who tells you to just be disciplined or control your emotions has never stood in front of a position that's down 40% in a week with their savings on the line. The surgical mindset is not about suppressing emotion. It is about building architecture that makes the correct behavior structurally easier than the incorrect behavior, even when the emotional pressure is at maximum intensity. Munger's answer was the lattice of mental models, not one framework. A lattice. Interlocking structures drawn from mathematics, psychology, physics, biology, and history, each one offering a different angle on the same reality, each one correcting for the blind spots of the others. In practice, this means several things executed with cold consistency. Name the mechanism in real time. When you feel the pull to buy because everyone else is buying, stop. Don't evaluate the asset. Evaluate the feeling. Label it. Social proof. Not opportunity. Not signal. Social proof. The naming creates cognitive distance. And distance, in a hall of mirrors, is survival. Pre-commit your rules before the emotion exists. Write the stop loss before you enter the position. Write the exit criteria before you fall in love with the thesis. Write the conditions under which you will change your mind, specifically, concretely, measurably, before the commitment bias has anything to protect. The rule, written in calm, is smarter than the feeling, generated in crisis. Hope is not a financial strategy. It's a neurological sedative. And in this hall of mirrors, it's the most expensive drug you can buy. If your plan depends on feeling good about a position, you've already lost. Invert. Always invert. Don't ask how this trade makes money. Ask how it loses everything. Don't build the bull case. Build the bear case first, as ruthlessly as possible, because your brain, under the influence of social proof and commitment bias, will construct the bull case automatically. It needs no assistance. The bear case requires deliberate architectural effort, and stress test the thesis against the worst version of reality before reality provides its own test. Here's the cold geometry of where we've arrived. The market is a mechanism for transferring wealth from the emotionally reactive to the structurally patient. This is not metaphor. This is the literal, documented, cyclically repeating pattern of every major financial event in recorded history. The Lollapalooza effect doesn't happen to stupid people. It happens to people, educated, successful, financially literate people, who walk into a hall of mirrors with survival software and mistake their reflections for windows. And the 1%, the capital architects, the sovereigns in the upper rooms, they don't wait for the market to make a mistake. They wait for you to have a Lollapalooza moment. They wait for social proof to peak, for loss aversion to freeze you, for commitment bias to keep you locked in while they quietly build positions on the other side of your panic. Your breaking point is their entry point. That's not cynicism. That's the architecture. The question is never whether the bugs will fire. They will. They are firing right now in ways you're not yet aware of. The question is whether you've built enough structure around them to contain the detonation. Because in the Hall of Mirrors, the only person who survives is the one who stops trusting their reflection. In the upper rooms, they don't buy assets. They buy the Lollapalooza moments of everyone else. They don't wait for the market to move. They wait for you to break. Because your panic is the only discount they ever need. I want to leave you with something that will stay with you. Think back to your biggest financial mistake. Not the market conditions. Not the external event, not the bad timing or the bad luck or the unexpected volatility. Think about what was happening inside the decision, the feeling that told you to hold when the numbers said sell, the social pressure that told you to buy when the fundamentals said wait, the public commitment that locked you into a position your rational mind had already abandoned. Was it a bad market? Or was it a Lollapalooza effect you didn't see coming? Drop the truth in the comments. Not the story you tell other people. The real one. Because the first step to building the lattice is being honest about which mirror broke you. The market doesn't need to be smarter than you. It just needs to wait until you're afraid.